deal to merge with the South in the next decade and to take a concessions deal and break away from China as an economic partner and use South Korea and then just explode their economy. And I said all that on March 8th, the day after. And now it got announced weeks later, and now it's all confirmed. And then some of the other sources, and very high level, including somebody in the top 5 placements of the CIA, director of, I'll leave it at that, first gave me messages and then the direct contact. Why aren't you covering this? There's going to be massive false flags against liberal sites to blame conservatives, even EMPs to claim that North Korea did it to derail this. And I'm just like, I'm not getting into classified stuff like this level of stuff, unless the president calls me, and that's been 5-6 months. So we're bringing Zach up right now for the next 30 minutes to go over this. He didn't know what I was talking about and having private conversations the last few weeks. But Zach's been dovetailing the same info. I know who Zach is. He's been in the news, been on TV. You know, he's in the government, been an Army Special Operations Intelligence guy, now with another group that deals with spacecraft and things like that. And he joins us to get into this. But Zach joins Alex Jones, who's on Twitter, live over the phone to break down his Pentagon insider intelligence about the war being planned against Syria and Russia by the neocons, burden in Trump's administration. And the other tweet, tune in as Intel insider Zach explains how Deep State is planning hashtag false flags against themselves, switching narratives that ISIS, along with INFOWARS, are targeting MSM, UN, Hollywood, and the Fed. And that's what the News Corps executive said 2 months ago. They said, we're going to ban INFOWARS, then WikiLeaks, then ISIS. Like we're the same. Once they're all banned, no more internet freedom. And that's what the Chinese president has called for in Reuters today. So here's the article. ISIS threatens satanic CNN, Universal Studios, Hollywood, NASA. So what do you do to the Federal Reserve and CNN? You help fund ISIS. You claim ISIS, your own group getting its ass kicked, is against you. You stage attacks against yourself. I'm not saying CNN will, but Deep State, making yourselves the victims. That's the only move they've got left, Zach. So I finally went public with what I've been told because everything you're saying dovetails with it. We got 2 minutes to break. Start.
Absolutely. Hello, Alex. It's great to be back on and have the ability to connect the dots here. A lot of things occurring at this moment in history, so let's get right into it. We're going to be covering what you just spoke about, the Deep State playing their jack of spades here right now by switching and recreating the ISIS narrative to be in association with the truth and liberty movement. It's no coincidence that this happens pretty much in perfect timing with you kind of being critical of Trump and the Sandy Hook lawsuit. So yes, they're going for broke now, playing the jack of spades here with the ISIS narrative. We're going to get into North Korea, what's really going on there. All hell breaking loose in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh over the weekend. Compromised Jeff Sessions, and the big question of where Huma and Hussein. Let us not lose sight of the Muslim Brotherhood backed Huma Abedin and the Awan brothers, because all of a sudden they're not out of the news. Jeff Sessions and Rosenstein are okaying raids on Trump's lawyers, but no work on Huma, no work on Hussein. What about the pay-to-play? What about the Fast and Furious? What about all of it? We got a lot of critical issues going on right now. We'll kind of get into all of them, but yeah, biggest on the forefront for me, knowing some behind-the-scenes workings on this, is the Deep State playing their jack of spades and changing the narrative to ISIS to associate it with you, your followers, and the truth and liberty movement. This was
and not that we're that important, but they see it as Americana, that they can demonize it and dent it. They think they can kill all opposition in the future. But Jeff Sessions compromised. Staged terror attacks against the left coming to make them victims. It's all coming up with Zach, an incredible intel source, so accurate. On the other side, I'm Alex Jones, newswars.com. So it's not like QAnon. I'm not bashing QAnon. Even though I disagree with some of what QAnon's saying. Clearly, they're in the intelligence community. Sessions is compromised. The Deep State is moving to take down Trump. And Zach is known to me. Zach's his real name. Again, he's been on national TV many times, been all over the news for over a decade. Well-known, decorated intelligence operative of Army Special Operations Command, now working with folks that deal with the spacecraft and the skunk works and all of that. And there are multiple Deep State operations. There's the original Deep State, 1947, the CIA. Then there's the whole NASA situation. So there's a lot of different organizations there. But you just laid it out in the last segment. But you've got the floor of this segment and the next. Lay out, Zach, slowly, relax, because I know I'm always interrupting. Lay out the big false flags you say are coming against the left, how it ties into the intel I've been given, and then just through what's happening in Saudi Arabia and this ongoing battle as the world politically realigns right now, Zach.
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, the ISIS narrative changing is so critical. Aligning with the truth and liberty movement is so problematic. I mean, you really have to give me a break here. It's CNN being targeted, not INF0WARS. It's the UN, not the Trump White House. This is absolutely ridiculous. If anything, this attack in Syria kind of emboldened this, and, you know, the liberty movement kind of picking its sides has forced this play here. And this is very critical, because what this will end up being are false flags being pulled off in this country against those listed individuals: UN, Hollywood, CNN, the Federal Reserve, NASA, among several other targets that have all famously been covered by the Truth Liberty Movement, and most notably you, INF0WARS, and our followers following it. But it's going to happen. This is all going to happen. This is happening at the same time when the attack on Syria occurred, when all hell is breaking loose in the last week in Saudi Arabia, full-out firefights, drones being shot down, missiles out of Yemen being shot down right outside of Riyadh. They're going for broke here. Everything that's occurring with North Korea has to do with Iran, has to do with Saudi Arabia and Syria. So it's all interconnected here. But we're being so effective, and like we discussed last week, we are in the midst of the deep state's death hurdle. So we must be effective. We've got to kind of call this all out. But tying you and the INF0WARS movement to ISIS essentially is the most ridiculous thing.
No, again, you're talking to other people that are super informed. The audience is informed, but talk to me like I'm 5 years old. Explain the articles that have come out. ISIS saying they're going to attack the New World Order, the globalists. They've openly worked for them. They always attacked innocent groups. This is a rebranding, exactly what I was told by high-level sources. They're planning major attacks against leftist groups to then blame it on ISIS and claim ISIS has linked up with the nationalist and Trump and the liberty movement. I was told this a month ago, and now that I see this, I'm in total horror.
Yeah, so now ISIS is being educated by INF0WARS, essentially, which will be the narrative. When a false flag does occur, which will be self-inflicted by themselves and then covered by themselves, it will be revealed that, well, these individuals have common enemies, and the enemies are the stories that you've been uncovering for decades, that the Truth and Liberty movement is aware of and knows of, but now all of a sudden ISIS happens to be a libertarian-based, conspiratorial fighting group. This is absolutely unprecedented, and it's no coincidence. On a
well, we always ask, well, you know, why did McVeigh bomb a federal building in the middle of the Midwest? We know it was staged. It came out was staged. He didn't bomb the UN. They finally get that narrative. Bomb themselves, make themselves the victims.
Absolutely. So you know, the movement that dubbed Al-Qaeda is now in line with that somehow. It's absolutely ridiculous. It was.
Well, you heard what I said earlier that I hadn't told you or the listeners. What do you make of what I was told the last month?
Yeah, it's absolutely accurate, and that's what we've been hinting at. We started this whole thing about 8 months ago when I came on the show, and we started discussing strategic patience. You see, we see how effective false flags work in Syria. So just as we're supposedly pulling out of North Korea, expect the same thing. All the opposing sabotage from China and the deep state, not to mention the strategic patience personnel who have been benefiting for this for 65 years, okay? Our budget perpetually in South Korea is so big that I don't think people understand. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars on record. That's not even black budget. It's just on record.
Conservatively, what, $30 billion a year over decades? It's gigantic.
Hundreds of billions all the time. And it's, you know, there's 25,000 there permanently, and it's 65 years after the actual war. Okay, we've been there for 65 years. So the idea that, oh, we got this deal.
We're talking trillions like the Iraq war, trillions.
The idea that we're leaving and everything's okay, that's a good plan, and I like that we've opposed strategic patience, but if you don't think that the military-industrial complex and the deep state is going to pull everything off in their power.
So who are the bad guys and good guys? Because the word is Mattis is trying to block this. Is that true?
Mattis is trying to block it. Mattis is obviously a patriot and a great individual, but this issue is so complex that there's a complete battle going on in the White House. Trump can't trust anybody. Trump can't trust what's going on. It's very difficult with the strike in Syria.
Can you imagine being in his view? Like, I got mad at him a couple of weeks ago in emotion. I get it now. I'm not walking back what I did, but God, can you imagine being Trump?
It's unbelievable. And the problem is he's fighting a military-industrial complex, which is the root of all of it. And the big issue here is that peace is not profitable, period. Peace is not profitable. This is a machine that's been churning out profit for 65 years on that peninsula. And the idea that, oh, all of a sudden peace will be great. I argue people, you know, the attention span is so gone, the instant gratification. We're here, it's news one day and not news the next. We broke on the show about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. I was on, and it was a New York Times article, and it says, UN workers have have found containers in Syria sent by North Korea that was the catalyst for them to pull off the chemical weapons attack. This was in the news, verified 100%. Now they're regurgitating the information all of a sudden. Now we're going to get a switch in the narrative from Kim Jong-un is doing these things. And of course, our intelligence agencies and our real operators who are compromised are sending on behalf of North Korea this into Syria to get it, down on paper, to get it documented, because the eventual push.
Well, that's my next issue is ISIS used chemicals 52 times in Syria. Even the New York Times admits. Now the inspectors get there and say, no, we were getting shot at. The Syrians didn't block us. The Russians brought us in. That came out in Zero Hedge, mainstream news from the main organization for the prohibition of chemical weapons. Germany's largest public TV, top show in the country, went and interviewed all the witnesses and said, yeah, no one was hit with chemicals. They told the kids that they were going to give them candy if they would let them dump water on their heads. Everything we reported the last week is now coming out that the chemical attack was a staged event.
So as of today, this broke about 13 hours ago, they got the quote on it. All the war hawks, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, as a collective there, they've issued a statement to the Treasury Secretary saying the decades-long military partnership between Syria and North Korea has enabled President Assad to continue his reign of terror with chemical weapons that include the use of mustard gas, blister agents, and nerve agents such as sarin and VX, resulting in the deaths of thousands of his own people, including innocent children. This is the official talking point coming out of the war hawks in our own Congress.
Because they don't want the deal to be made. Well, the U.S. is winning. The Russians are pulling out. We're winning in North Korea. The globalists don't want the problem to be fixed. They don't want us to have the peace deal. So what about my sources saying they're looking at major stage terror, just like they did in Syria, to blame Kim Jong-un? And this was so big, and the source is so big, I didn't cover it 3 weeks ago. I just couldn't do it. My gut says put it out now. How does that tie into this with your information on how they may be planning something to derail peace breaking out like the fake chemical attack of 2 weeks ago?
Absolutely planned, already in the works. In this upcoming week, into next week, we have to be very vigilant. A lot of planned operations obviously going on. Chatter gets around, nothing happens in a vacuum, and it's already started in Saudi Arabia, which is really the epicenter of where this all stems from. So over the last week in Saudi Arabia, just major internal fighting, full-out firefights, shooting things down, ballistic missiles being shot down with, Patriot systems.
Yeah, we forget. It's hardly in the news that ICBMs get fired and get blown up all the time. So you're saying Trump has successfully gotten people that were reformers in, but now they've counter-striked?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the fight right now. The next 2 weeks, we are in the midst of the deep state death hurdle. This is it. I mean, we're in it right now. It starts in Saudi Arabia, but it'll make it to our shores by next week. There's very, very credible intel out there of planned operations this week into the next, and it's going to be double-pronged.
When we come back, what about the warnings of terror attacks on leftist sites? I already knew this weeks ago. You called saying you wanted to come on about it, so you might be getting some of the same intel. I mean, they say it's imminent. Documented, known by this operation, who he is. But he's just a smart patriot, a veteran, a guy hooked into things that knows what's going on by the white hats in the government versus the black hats. And the white hats worldwide are making a move for free market, prosperity, true open societies against Soros and the globalists. I have been told for close to a month by the same individuals that told me that Kim Jong-un had already agreed to denuclearization and all the rest of it before anybody else admitted it. And again, I asked him, I said, why am I being given this info? And they said, so when we give you more info, you know it's real. But I didn't go with this. But then I saw the latest developments. I saw Zach contacting our producer saying, listen, they're going to target leftist sites. And now it's all coming out that ISIS is going to do it to make the globalist victims. It's here. So in the 8 minutes we have left, Zach, lay out where we are right now, what citizens should be watching, the different players that are involved, what's happening in the world.
Absolutely. So where we're at right now is we're going to have the mainstream media and the military-industrial complex-backed government have you believe that ISIS is being educated by INF0WARS with common enemies. We have the iconic images of Trump and the King of Saudi Arabia grasping that illuminated globe in their inaugural trip coming to fruition. Trump had to make a plan here, and we really have to get through to him, because appeasing this complex, appeasing these warhawks is not where you want to be. You want to be tough. You have to do what you got to do. But what about compromised Jeff Sessions? What about Rosenstein? What about Huma? What about Hussein? What about the real crimes. So we have to get through to Trump. For all the good he's done as the most effective president in U.S. history, this is the fight. This is the death hurdle. That image of him waving the swords, that image of grasping the illuminated globe in Saudi Arabia will be a problem, because like we have all over the planet, our grasp as an empire, that's what it is. Our military presence all over the planet is being mimicked and followed up by Saudi Arabia doing the same thing in the Middle East and North Africa. They will pull off the sections of the world that we did not culturally have the ability to do, but obviously they are in cahoots. Look into the information into 9/11, and those images, if not corrected and played at the 5D chess level, will be very problematic for the Trump presidency as history is written. It's very dangerous times.
And getting back to Rosenstein, the Secretary of, I mean, all these people, the Attorney General, all of them worship him like he's God. He's the one that worked for Clinton. He's the one that did it all. Trump's not even talking about getting rid of Rosenstein, and they say, you do it, it's over. This is the rogue government. So the old idea was, don't get rid of them. It looks like you're guilty. No, they're criminals. Get rid of all of them.
Exactly. You have Jeff Sessions, being a champion of mandatory minimums and threatening the White House and, putting out to the media that he will step down if Rosenstein is fired.
And notice, as soon as Trump said, I don't want to put marijuana smokers in prison, which is super popular and reasonable, suddenly Sessions goes crazy. Who really controls Sessions, Zach, and what do they have on him, if you know?
Sessions is down the line deep state. He's been a problem from the get-go, and he has some good qualities. He's a little bit later in his life, but like we said 6 months ago, Tillerson is compromised, Haley is compromised, Sessions is compromised, and that's our big wedge in between us and the QAnon community. It's trust Sessions, trust Sessions, trust Sessions. Well, I don't trust Sessions because Huma Abedin and the INF0WARS brothers committed treason in this country. Hillary Clinton committed treason in this country. Barack Hussein Obama committed treason in this country. So don't be okaying raids with your deputy attorney general into Trump's personal
Exactly. If I was selling out to Pakistan all our secrets, I need a bullet in my head. What the hell is... They say we're traitors all day. They're the ones that are traitors.
The question is, what did the INF0WARS brothers and Huma get on Jeff?
That's right, because they had control of his servers. So what is the word? Let's just get it out there. I know the FBI's grabbed you a few times over this, but what is the word on Jeff? What do they have on him? I don't know.
I'll just say this. It's compromised Jeff Sessions. I can't get into specific details because that would be very problematic. And you're dealing with an individual like him and the entities that he's in control of, obviously. It becomes a problem in the next few weeks.
I know, but the fact that you know that makes it a problem. I just want to get this going. I'm not scared of these people. I'm sick of it, man.
The intel's out there. He was a part of a group.
So you're saying if he makes a move against you or others, the intel goes out?
Oh, it's going out.
I was told, let's just say he was in the KKK. I'm told it's KKK.
I'm just saying, he's a man later in his life. History seemed the world moved in a different way when he was a younger man. He lived in a certain geographical region of the planet where certain things were accepted, and that if they were out there...
So you just said it. The intel you're getting is the same thing I got on Bird, that it's KKK crap.
I mean, you're pushing the prison industrial complex. You're not, the name Huma Hussein doesn't come up with verifiable things. You're okaying raids on
goddamn KKK people. I'm so sick of them.
I mean, and he was brought in just like Tillerson, just like Haley, to see where they could be led and then be crossed and double crossed in the next year or two. He will be relieved, and this is a lot of good intel out of QAnon, but this is our wedge right here, where it's trust Sessions, trust Sessions, trust Sessions. I've known some things for a long time, and just his lines. I'm not.
No, we got 2 minutes left. What's the rest of the data dump? The left is getting ready to have globalist stage terror attacks to make them the victim. That's the clear next play. We have that. What else?
The big question is, when will Huma and Hussein be pushed? I want Donald Trump, and he will start doing it this week, I think, maybe into the next week. How can there not possibly, have Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin, and Barack Hussein looked into? Because what's going to happen is Trump via Twitter will start pressuring Jeff Sessions, compromise Jeff Sessions.
Well, isn't it good news that Congress is calling for criminal investigations? That seemed to make the Democrats follow suit and go crazy.
Or seen as potential momentum that's actually not momentum. Don't look into that. There's already stuff. There's members of Congress specifically on the Senate.
No, there's enough to indict all the top Democrats and send them to prison for 10,000 years.
If you pull out the true plan here, if we really get into what went on with HRC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Hussein, and all the likes there, with the Fast and Furious bringing the pretext to getting all of this, it's so unprecedented that the changes in history will be. You just cannot tiptoe around this. It's either all or nothing.
And that's why the Democrats are so desperate. They've committed such galactic crimes that they're cornered.
You just hit it right in the head. This is the galactic gold mine, and that is it. Because everything that's occurring is stopping us, like you spoke about the front, some of the stuff I'm involved with in think tank engineering. The move here, they have to do everything they can to stop us from going multiplanetary. Once we go multiplanetary, there's a real issue in the culture narrative, real issue in what we look to as cultural references, real issues in the economy when it comes to mining certain precious metals and minerals. Everything changes.
And big disclosures are about to come out, and they want to be in charge when the disclosures happen.
100%. So they're pulling out. They've pulled it all out. They played the Jack of Spades.
That's what I've been told. That's what I've been told since I was a kid, and we are here right now. All right, Zach, I'm back live tomorrow. I know you're very busy there at Palo Alto and the work you're doing, but you got to come back on for a full hour to talk about what you just said, the full import, the full game, the full what's known, because you're on target and we love you. We appreciate you.
Likewise, anytime. It'd be an honor.
Set it up tomorrow. All right, I'm going to come back and get into the culture war.